Wall Street stock market is up over 30% this year. But 10% of the richest Americans own over 80% of the shares. Main Street workers like you and me, our income increased just 1% in the same time. There are 3 people looking for every 1 job opening out there, and long-term unemployment is at a record high. People are having to sell off their belongings just to put food on their table and keep a roof over their heads. And in the face of this, the only thing that powers in Washington can agree on is to cut SNAP food aid to the poor, the disabled, our veterans, to the old, and by nearly $10 billion after the stimulus expired and they did nothing to put that $5 billion in SNAP back in. And then now, with this latest austerity budget deal that they said is a great deal because it avoids another government shutdown, another $4.5 billion in cuts to the poor and the hungry. They tell us this is progress, as if our choice is now either accepting a complete government shutdown or taking food off the table of hungry Americans. I reject this choice, and I think all of us should. Our infrastructure is rated D by the Army Corps of Engineers and needs a reported $3 trillion in work just to bring it up to code. Construction workers have been the hardest hit in this recession. They want work, but not a single dollar is being spent in Washington to rebuild our failing bridges and crumbling roads. We're fighting just to get a minimum wage for workers that lets them barely keep their heads above water with the rest of us who are growing tired of treading water with debt, with school debt, and rising costs of living, and flat wages. And to pay for this, the Republicans will demand quote-unquote pay-fors or offsets for further cuts to life-saving and sustaining services to millions of our children and our families who were crushed by this recession, by a rigged economic system that favors the few at the expense of the many and can't afford any more cuts. Martin Luther King Jr. said it's cruel to tell a person they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps while you have your foot on their boots. Listen, my friends, we need fighters in all walks of life to speak out and act up for immediate, bold measures to rebuild economic balance in our countries. Yes, that's not just in America, but in England, in Spain, in Greece, in Portugal, in Australia, and other countries where multinational corporations have taken hold of our governments, infiltrated them, and rigged the system to benefit corporations and the political industrial elites. We must fight and unite for jobs with justice, not just to be given meager minimum wages with one hand, while with the other hand they try and take away our health care, natural resources, and public commons. We need jobs that pay a thriving wage with the right to collectively bargain and have sick pay and maternity leave. We need real universal health care so nobody goes bankrupt or gets hounded to death's door by bill collectors because they get seriously ill or they get struck by some terrible accident or event. Not just because it's the moral thing to do, but because it's the best way to live together in a just and well-run society. If we can't feed our children, teach them well, keep them from gun violence, keep poison from our food and our water, have growing access to economic opportunity for everyone who can and who wants to work, then why are we spending these hundreds of billions of dollars on the world's largest military? What are we going to have left to defend and protect if we continue to go down this road? Please do not settle for this. Do not defend this immoral status quo, because there is no defense of a society that lets so many of its children live in poverty and locks up more of its citizens than any country in the world, while only 1% collects almost all of the economic gains. There is no way to defend this. We simply must unite together and fight together to make it better, because we can. We could unite in spite of our differences. We don't have to agree on everything. Let's just come together and find common ground and higher ground that says we don't want our children to go hungry. We want equal access and fair access to good jobs with rising wages. There's no way that if enough of